just know that tomorrow the sun is going to come up again. You're going to give a new chance. It might still affect you, but you can still go through the day, and it'll still be one day away from that awful day or that awful thing or that loss, that breakup. At the end of the day, they get smaller, and it's such a cheesy saying. And like, I know when I've been going through stuff and people say this to me, I'm like rolling my eyes. I'm like, I don't feel this, but time does heal wounds. And I think that it doesn't heal everything. I don't think that time can fix like the pain that an abusive relationship caused or anything, but I think it softens it. And I think that you've learned to carry it with grace, and you learn to make it something that makes you better. Like if you've been in an abusive relationship, you're never going to do that to someone else. If you've been cheated on, you're never going to do that to someone else. So it's awful that it happened to you, but because it happened to you, hopefully it stops with you.
Welcome to the Manders Mindset Podcast. Here you'll find both monologue and interviews of entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, and a variety of other people, where your host Amanda Russo will discuss her own mindset and perspective and her guest mindset and perspective on the world around us. Manders and her guests will help explain to you how shifting your mindset will shift your life.
Welcome to Manders Mindset. As always, I'm your host, Amanda Russo. And I'm here today with Darrian Chapman. And I first got connected with Darrian on Instagram, and I was just simply inspired by her. She's a fitness enthusiast and honestly a badass in the gym. And her mindset inspired me simply from following her. And I'm here with Darrian today. Hey, thanks for having me here. Can you tell us a little bit more of a background about who you are and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. So, I grew up in a really small town, and I played sports occasionally, but I wasn't really into fitness that much. And when I was growing up, I kind of dealt with a lot, as everyone does, like wasn't perfect. And because of that, later in life, I definitely experienced some missteps. I made some choices that I wasn't proud of, kind of lost myself in the early 20s. And this was a way for me to kind of find myself again, and it brought me home to myself. And I'm really passionate about sharing that, because I think that anyone, no matter what their belief or where they started, everybody has potential to become their best self. And I think that that's something that really drew me to posting about it, because I was finding out that everybody else did, confused, not knowing what I wanted to do. And that's where I ended up in bodybuilding, that I've used wrong a lot in my life. And so I connected with business people and places who shared so much knowledge with me, like Lessa, how kind of we connected as well. So that's just a little bit about how I got to where I am now.
Thank you for sharing that. So I've noticed you do share so much positivity, and you're always saying something positive on Instagram. Is there something that helps you have such a positive outlook on life?
That's a really good question. It took time. I think it took a lot of forgiveness as well. When I was younger, I reached a point where I kind of became a bit of an addict. And at that time, when I was an addict, I didn't want to take responsibility for anything. I was very angry at the world, and I blamed all of my problems on everybody else. And regardless of the situations that maybe included others, at the end of the day, I have to take responsibility for that. And through that, and taking my power back and realizing it was on me, I realized that it was my mindset. It wasn't my advice, wasn't that I didn't have enough, it was that I wasn't paying attention to what was good. And once I started to do that, even little things, like waking up and being grateful that I had time to have a coffee, once I was able to really focus on the small good things, every day got a little easier. And then I just sort of built on that. It doesn't happen overnight. And I think that that's something that people are affecting. They think like, I'll just make this gratitude list and I'll feel immediately better. But should not the truth, because life is never going to be perfect. Even though lately I've been kind of a bit behind in life, I know that at any moment I could have something happen and be feeling perfect, that gratitude and that positivity that will get you through those low times. Just knowing that there will always be another better time.
Wow, I love all that. If you don't mind me asking, you mentioned you were an addict. An addict to what?
Well, I had a lot of trauma in my younger years. My family was quite broken, and I'm happy to say that now, we've all gone to therapy and lived dominating work, but it was a really dark time, and I turned to drugs for a long time. I was using, I was partying. It was pretty regular for me to be up all night, sleep all day. And I just blamed everybody else. I was like, my parents did this. My people in my life did this to me. Like, I can't get better. I can't do any better. And at a really low point, at a point where I was living in a not great situation. I remember looking in the mirror at this really dirty basement suite that I lived in with like 3 people who were all using. And I looked in the mirror and I thought, I just can't live like this anymore. And I packed up all my stuff and moved away from my hometown a week later and showed up at my mom's doorstep and said, hey, I really need help because I'm a mess and I need to get clean. And it started really small. Like the first time I walked into a gym, I had finally quit using. I was still drinking quite a bit. Still always partying. The gym just gave me this one thing every day that I had to do. And from the time I started going to the gym to the time I gave up partying, gave up drinking, it was honestly probably 3 years of just little daily changes. And taking tiny steps. The reason I tell people, don't rush your journey. Your journey is yours. Everybody's is separate. If everybody just takes back time to do one little thing every day, it's going to add up. These changes don't have to be overnight. And honestly, you learn more when you go lower and you allow yourself to fail and get back up.
That's amazing. I completely agree though with the small changes. I say that to everybody because so many people always ask me how I lost so much weight as someone who was always overweight, especially growing up. It's a question I constantly get asked, and people assume it was quick. It wasn't that quick. You noticed it, and by the time you noticed it, it seemed like it was a quick overnight thing, and it wasn't. And I feel like a lot of people get disappointed with things they want because they expect it to happen quickly.
Totally. And I know as someone who's, figured weight loss before, I'm sure when you were doing it, and correct me if I'm wrong, you probably felt like, this is taking so long and so much work and it's such a journey. But once you've gotten to a point and you look back, it doesn't feel like it took that long. It's enduring. I think that's something people, when you're in it, you don't realize that you're grinding it out and doing it every day. You're like, I just want to reach that goal. And then all of a sudden you're standing at a goal and you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And then you have that knowledge and that ability to go, okay, like what's the next goal? Like I can do anything. And it just builds your self-confidence.
Yes, I completely agree. So how did you post go onto your mom's after you realized you needed help and you started going to the gym, and where did you go from that point?
So when I first started going to the gym, I didn't know what I was doing. But I was trying, doing all those little 15-minute YouTube kind of workouts, changing the program every day. But like I said, it just gave me that drive to get up and do something every day. And then it was actually, I met My partner actually 5 years ago at his sling show. He's a pro wrestler. And at the time when we met, he was 2 weeks out from his first bodybuilding competition. And Hardy was still partying a little, but not doing any drugs, just, drinking way more than I needed to. And we started seeing each other hanging out, and I was fascinated by his lifestyle. He seemed so driven and organized and like in shape and happy, and he doesn't drink at all. So when I met him, I was like, we should grab a drink. And he's like, I don't drink. And I was like, purpose? Like, I hadn't come out of that part of my life yet. So I was shocked. And so he was the first person I started hanging out with who didn't really drink. And that was good for me. And then I was able to see, we can have fun with this. This is great. And then he slowly kind of convinced me to come to his gym, because I was going to a small, very private gym. I was very gym shy. I don't know about you when you first started, but the gym shyness is real. And he convinced me to come to his big gym with all the big heavy lifters. And I was thinking, oh, these people seemed so happy, and the community was incredible. Like, I was terrified, and everybody was coming up to me, high-fiving, good job. I was like, wow. And from there, I said, I'm going to give this bodybuilding thing a try. And then I went head first into it. He coached me for like a year, and then I hired my first coaches first half a year later. So once I kind of got into a routine where I wasn't using drugs and started to change my environment, then the other changes started to come. So test after that basic time, you give up something, you heal from it, you're learning that field state for a while, and then something else comes into your life that takes you to another level. And when you're open to that and you're doing the work on yourself, I really believe those opportunities show up for you. Like, you open yourself up to them. You're admitting that energy, that those opportunities are there for you. You're ready for them. You can take them. I think that's such an important part of the journey for people, is realizing that as you accept that change is good and it's powerful, those doors start to open up, and every time you overcome something, the next day it's less of a mountain to climb, and you're prepared, you're more resilient.
I completely agree. Is there anything that helps you be able to embrace change?
Honestly, I think everybody's looking for this magic formula. Just going through it and setting yourself up in an environment with good people to support those changes. Your environment was so much, the shows you watch, the people you spend your time with, the podcasts you listen to, like things like this to get people inspired are so important. And it helps you build that resiliency so that when change happens, you still have your foundation. Because life is always going to change around you. But your core values don't have to change. People you love don't always have to change. And the places you're going are just exciting new opportunities to meet with people who will hopefully be in your life to help you embrace further change.
And I completely agree. And I love how you mentioned the shows you watch and the podcasts you listen to, because that gives so many people emphasize who you spend your time with and who's in your physical environment. But I think a lot of people often overlook even things like that, like shows, your music, like little things. What's going in your ears, what's going in your head.
So true. And I think too, there's so many people online who go hard, like never watch trash TV, never eat junk food, never, miss a day in the gym, but there has to be a balance. And it's like, watch what you're listening to, but have the things that make you enjoy life. There's a balance. You can't give up everything you love and still expect to live a joyous life. But you can also, be soft. And yes, I'm sure this is something you've learned through Alexa, much like myself, but just taking a note of what's going on in your space, even just noticing and being aware is so huge.
I love how you mentioned that, because I have learned that so much from Lexa. If you haven't heard some other episodes, Lexa is my fitness coach, and that's also how Darrian and I both connected on Instagram, because we both follow Lexa. But it's just paying attention to how you feel physically, emotionally, and like how your body feels just around certain people, when you go certain places, when you do certain things. And that could be even as from under certain movements in the gym. Like, she even had me realize that I can't remember off the top of my head what the movements were, but like certain movements just do work well for me. We can do basically the same thing, but like target the same exact muscle by doing a different exercise, and I've done it great. And it's like little shifts, and like, but how does it feel when you have this, when you do this?
Well, we live in a society that I feel wants to disconnect us from our body. I think we've all done it. I definitely use filters when I just go on Instagram early in the morning. But there's something that, again, awareness that everything's trying to tell us we need to look different, be different. But what happens if we just slow down and admit that where we are might be exactly where we're meant to be? We're probably right where we're meant to be. And we do need to rush to this next step because we're getting there anyways.
I love that. Yes. And I agree with you. Like, society designs us to be disconnected with social media, with phones, with even these short videos. The way everything is set up nowadays, and it's just pausing, taking a breath. You'll realize a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Like sitting in the moment that you're in, you're never going to be in that moment again. And take stock of it because you might look back and you wish you savored it more.
That's so true. I heard, and I can't remember for the life of me where I heard this, and I really wish I could, because this quote has helped me stay in the present moment so much. But you will never experience the same exact moment twice. Even if you're at the same place with the same people doing the same thing. Every single time it's different. And when I first heard this, I was working at this one law office, and I started like really paying attention to that. And how even though I'm doing the same job every day, same coworkers are here, it's still different. There's still differences about every single moment of that. So like, that has helped me share all the moments, the good moments, the mediocre moments, and the lesser good moments, because you never going to experience that exact moment again. Even if it sucks, you won't experience it again.
True. I love that quote. I really love that. And like you said, even if it's a moment that sucks, if you become tapped to that awareness, it's so hard. It's so hard in the moment to say, what is this moment teaching me? But if you can take something out of it, that even that low point was a lesson. You can walk away with the lesson.
No, it's so true. And like, I'm someone who I also try to find the positives even in not the best of situations. Like, I did a podcast talking about my highlights and my lowlights, but how they're also intertwined and they're connected. A highlight likely came out of almost every single lowlight that I experienced.
So true. I think anybody, when an artist look back, every door that ever closed was usually opening a new and better door. But when that door closes, I do feel for people because it hurts and we're human. And I think another thing that we're inundated with in society is like, pull yourself up from your bootstraps. Do better. You can do it. Like, grind it out. David Goggins. And it's like, that's not a reality for everyone. And this whole everyone has the same 24 hours a day is like not true. Like, if you're, single mother taking public transit to work, you don't have the same 24 hours in the day as someone who has a brand new Tesla and a nanny. It's just not the same. And there is, again, like, people in this society are always told that what they're doing is not enough. And that's just not true. If you're trying every day to be your best self and you're showing up in the world with kindness, you're doing enough and you deserve to live in that moment and you deserve to be proud of where you're at.
I used to be someone who really liked the quote that we all have the same 24 hours in the day. But I really like your comparison because, or even if you think about a woman who doesn't even have children, you know, your 24 hours is different than a single mom. Regardless of what she works, what she does, you know what I mean? It's just something to even think about. And like, another reason, like, how can you compare yourself to other people when nobody's living the same life as you?
Exactly. And we're told to compare. We're told that, the person living next to us has more, they're doing better. I just want everybody to know that's not the case. And I'm sure people even come to my Instagram and say, wow, her life so positive and so beautiful that, like, I don't post on Instagram when I have a big change or when the door closes and my chest is heavy and I want to cry because I want to sit in that moment. I want to take it for myself and be like, okay, what now? It's not, people don't need into the most intimate parts of our change, but I think it's important that we all are able to admit and say, like, I'm not perfect. I have bad days. Yeah, I don't share them all, but that's the reality. I mean, the world is painted over with this. Everything's perfect. Everything's flawless. And, you can be positive and admit that sometimes that still sucks. But you're still going to get up every day and you're still going to keep going because that's the only choice you have. You get one ride. I always say that, like, one ride on this raft. You don't get another one. This is your one chance. Like, no do-overs.
Oh my God. I like that. There's no do-over. Okay. I always say, I'm not guaranteed to open my eyes tomorrow, and neither are you. So, like,
I love that. One of my really good friends, she had this quote, and she always goes, if you opened your eyes this morning, you already opened 2 gifts. And I think it's really cute because you already opened them. You're lucky to be alive.
that's a do-over. I love that. I love the quotes.
Right? They get us through. Neat big quotes.
No, I completely agree. So I want to backtrack, but you mentioned how you first got into prep. So can you touch a little bit upon how prep was for you, what you did for prep?
Yeah, totally. So my first bodybuilding prep was a very positive experience. I have had really good coaches, Mike and Megan with Hybrid Elite. They were great. And when I first went to them, I had already lost about 50 pounds on my own over COVID, just working out, eating healthier, having my instructor coach me through that part of it. And when I went to them, I thought, I'm ready to jump into a prep. Prep me right now. And I'm so glad that they said no. They're like, no, we need to do a building phase first. And I was terrified because I just lost all this weight. And then they're like, add to gain some weight. And I was like, this seems really counterintuitive. Like, I thought a bodybuilding prep, we were going to lose weight. And so immediately I learned something new. And we got into the building phase and I was shocked because I thought I had learned everything. But their coaching with macros, it was much more food than I was used to eating. And I still remember my first week with them. I sent my check-in and very politely they were like, this is not up to par. Like, my macros were way off. I didn't hit them any day. And if anyone listening, doesn't know what macros are, it's just carbs, fat, protein that you're tracking. And I missed it every single day. I didn't know how to do exercises right. I missed it. I had huge troughs because the first year of learning how to do lateral raises, it was just all troughs, They don't even know what I was doing. So they're overdeveloped now. And so they started teaching me properly listing techniques, tempo, and diet. And I fell even more in love with it at this point because it gave me a structure that gave me so much purpose and made me feel so good. As someone who spent so many years living in addiction, treating her body so poorly, I can say to anyone who's done that, they probably feel the same, that once you start to treat your body well, it is shocking the difference that you feel. And it made me fall in love with it. And we did about, probably say like 4 to 6 months of building before they said, like, okay, it's time to get shredded. And my tracks for me went very well. I was so focused on this goal and so in love with my lifestyle. I had quit drinking completely that year. So I did 365 days sober the year I started my fast, which was really incredible for someone like me. Changed my life. But my prep was very smooth. It wasn't even that exciting. Like, I loved it. My food didn't get that low because my coaches built it up hard. My cardio was manageable, like a lot, to the average person, but for a bodybuilding prep, it really wasn't that much cardio. After my prep, that's when things really took a turn and I had a moment of embracing change, because after that goal finished, I had spent so much time focusing on this one goal that when the show was done, I didn't know who I was or what I was supposed to do. I had attached so much of my work to getting this shredded that then even bodybuilding kind of became a little bit tainted for me for a while. And it was really tough. I lost my cycle during that. So my hormones were not in a good place afterwards, and that didn't help with the mental health either. So as far as getting into the first prep, it was really smooth and really positive because I had this goal. And I think a lot of first time competitors can relate to that, because you're so excited. You're like, I have all this structure in my life. And admittedly, when you're getting really lean on social media, you're getting a lot of, oh, you look great. You look so good. You're shredding. Of course, that feels good. And you're posting those highlights so people see it. And it's shocking when you start putting on body fat again and you're not shredded anymore. People are like no longer interested. And that is hard on the psyche, whether you have 100 followers or like 10,000. Social media has still created this like quick dopamine for all of us. So once that goes away, you have a moment where you're like, well, who am I? What am I doing? Like, do I even want to do this again? Like, I feel terrible right now. So for me, the prep was the least interesting part, but I think it was the catalyst for me into the most growth with my relationship with my body.
Did you compete in bodybuilding?
I did. So I competed in a bodybuilding show in 2021. I did the Van City Showdown. I competed in wellness, in the naturals. I didn't do the open show. And I won the overall at my first show. So I was riding a high, and the thrash was humbling. It was really humbling. And to be honest with you, like, it was a small regional show. And wellness is a relatively new division. So the year I competed, I don't think any of the girls on stage with me, I don't think any of us would stand up in the current wellness division now that it's had time to grow. So that was also a tough realization too, coming out of prep, knowing that like I wasn't ready to do another show right away, and I had to accept the fact that it was going to be a long time before I had that goal again. And that was tough to accept, and that was a lot of change.
So have you competed since?
No, I have not. I am in the eternal off season, as I like to call it. Because of what happened with prep, I knew I wanted to stick at my last season and build. But the first 6 months were not building. I was basically just trying to get a cycle back. So I wasn't really tracking through it. Once I came out of my reverse diet, I was trying to eat intuitively and eat a lot to get my body's hormones to a place where they felt safe enough. And I did actually get my cycle back like 4 months after my show. And I put on a lot of weight. Looking back on it, I think I was way too hard on myself. And I look back some photos and think, oh, I look so happy and healthy. And at the time, I was speaking so meanly to my body because I wasn't in that like shredded prep phase. And then I had some pretty intense life stuff happen, and it just prep is all encompassing. And so I knew I wasn't ready. And to be honest with you, not doing the prep has been the best thing that's happened to me in the last 2 years, because it's given me a chance to fall back in love with what actually matters. And that's just being healthy, moving your body, loving your body at every stage. And this is no shade to bodybuilding. I think bodybuilding can be a catalyst for some of the best change in people's life, whether they ever compete or they just hire a coach and learn about their body and get healthy. But I do think it also has the potential to be really hard on people, especially women, because seeing yourself that lean in a society that really idolizes it can be very hard to let that go. But I think the best thing to do is have really good coaches going into those things, and really good, everything comes back to, that support circle, your foundation. So before getting into anything like that, I think having a good support system is the first thing you need to make sure you have.
No, I have never done a prep, but I've experienced losing weight and being slimmer and then gaining some back, and definitely just the shitty internal feeling of a little bit of that quote unquote weight gain, even if it wasn't like a huge weight gain.
Totally. And I think it's because you've seen yourself at what you've considered ideal, and you've attached ideal to this form of you. And very hard to separate that and realize the ideal version of you is happy, healthy, thriving, doing things they love, and it has absolutely nothing to do with your weight. That's something you've attached to it. But like you said, it's a mental thing, and we all go through it. And everybody, I think, kind of sweeps it under the rug. And it's nice to talk to other women, and it really makes you realize at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all going through it.
So true.
But I love how you mentioned living as our happiest, healthiest self, moving our body, doing what feels good. And that's different for all of us, and that's something I try to emphasize on my podcast as well. I'm a huge proponent of moving your body, of movement, of exercise. But the type of movement for everybody is different. Maybe you only yoga. Maybe you love Pilates. Maybe you love to swim. Maybe strength training is for you. Whatever it is. Because we're all different. What works for me might not work for you. It might, but it might not.
I love that. I think it's so important too. And I love that you do that on your podcast, because at the end of the day, just because I lift weights and you lift weights, or, that might not be someone's favorite form of activity. And geez, a day, there's so many. You can do the yoga, do the Pilates, do whatever, but just embrace movement, embrace your body. And letting people know you don't need to wait till your body looks a certain way to try something. And I think there's this huge fear of starting things, especially in the gym, or like, oh, I don't look good enough to go yet, so I just want to lose 10 pounds at home so I can walk in the gym. I can say that every gym I've stepped in, every yoga studio I've stepped in, everyone who's in the fitness space, I think, is just so happy to see other people come into whatever form of movement. Nobody cares what you look like or how you show up. It's there. And the fact that you're showing up is amazing. And that speaks volumes. And I think that everyone should be welcoming in I love seeing beginners in the gym. Everyone needs to be welcoming in every form of movement. And I tell anyone, if you see me in the gym, you need a spot, or you want me to take a picture of you, like, come over and let me know. We should all feel welcome in these public spaces to grow. It's a place to grow. It's not a place to judge other people. We come here to grow. We're not coming here to judge other people's journey.
I completely agree. And I love how you mentioned the majority of people in these fitness spaces. I'm super friendly. I know before I actually went to the gym, that gym intimidation, like before ever going, and so many people lately have that. But it It's definitely found a few between. Like, I'm sure most places have your random asshole, like a lot of places do. But like, just
There's always
you know,
one.
like everywhere you go, there's oh my god. But majority of people, I was so friendly within the gyms, and they're super welcoming. Like, and now I even become that person. Whether I know you or not, I say hi or good morning to every single person I see at the gym. And you might not want to be talking to me at 5 o'clock in the morning, but I'm still, hi, good morning, how are you today? Some of these people would then be like, I'm nuts. But you never know what a small, simple interaction, how it might make somebody feel.
Oh, I love that. Spreading a little positivity is so important. And you are so positive. I really love that about you, that you're like so bubbly and positive. You're so easy to chat with. And I think that you're the perfect example of exactly the amazing people who are in this space, who want to invite everybody in and talk to people. And just, I always say, like, open door on my page if anyone has questions, or maybe just needs a friend. Like, I don't want to live in a world that's disconnected. That's not the world I'm choosing to live in. It might see the world that's out there, but in our world, the people who come into it, like, feel friend. And I think that more people do that, the world's just going to be a better place. Kindness is what we're missing. There's no secret formula. It's just kindness and patience.
I love that. Kindness is what we're missing, and patience. And I try to emphasize that too, like, this is kind of different than patience, but this is what also went through my mindset in my head. But the little things, like, have some patience and just not stressing the little things. And I've told this story a lot because honestly, it really probably bugged me more than I realized. But, and no, this guy did not want to show me rant to him at like 5:30 in the morning. But it was about Jesus' divine presence. It was probably 4:45 plates on each side. And now, oh yeah, it was a pain. But some guy says to me, "That's the worst way to start your morning." Oh, you think this is the worst way to start my morning? So many worse things could have happened to me. What if my car didn't start? What if I couldn't even get to the gym? What if I got in an accident on my way to the gym? You know, I am just working out my upper body even though I'm doing legs today. This guy looked at me at the rehab. I don't even know his name.
Oh, I think it's when people just like, I think it's a habit too. We all say, like, oh, it's a Monday, so it's going to be a terrible day. But we just go into it with that mindset, and so many people don't even realize they're doing it. And it's maybe that guy just needed that small bit of awareness that you give him, like, no, I'm getting an upper body, like, you're making the most of it. Like, two birds, one stone, legs and arms. Like, you're the one missing out. And be able to switch the perspective even when it's said to you, like, that is so important. And I hear it all the time. I wake up all the time on Monday and I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to work. And then there's these little shifts. And when I say I don't want to go to work, I am stop and think, well, actually, if I go to work, that pays the bills, that pays for my gym membership. And so I get to go to work and I get to pay those bills. And just the small little language changes and perspective shifts, it'll change your life over time. It doesn't feel like it in the moment. And that's what I think makes it hard to be consistent with, because you don't notice it in the moment. And then looking back at your days, you're like, oh, it was a great day. Well, you told yourself it was going to be a great day. So we didn't let the one bad thing ruin the whole thing. And I saw a really good post once that summed that up. And it just said, let one bad day be just one bad day. Have a bad day. You're entitled to it. Did your day suck? That's fine. Tomorrow's a new day. It doesn't have to spill over. You can close that chapter and the next one new.
Okay. And it also, a lot of people on the podcast have emphasized and talked about what we say to ourselves, and just everything you were saying that really made me think of that. And it's just, even if you're not saying it out loud, even if you're thinking to yourself when you wake up, oh, I don't want to go to work today. Like, it's still affecting you because it's your thoughts. But I love that quote too, that one bad day be one bad day. And just like not dwelling on it.
quickly. It doesn't need to spill over, and sometimes it will. So people go through so much. That's not saying like just wake up tomorrow and forget about it, but just know that tomorrow the sun is gonna come up again. You're gonna give a new chance. It might still affect you, but you can still go through the day, and it'll still be one day away from that awful day or that awful thing or that loss, that breakup. At the end of the day, they get smaller, and it's such a cheesy saying. And like, I know when I've been going through stuff and people say this to me, I'm like rolling my eyes. I'm like, I don't feel this, but time does heal wounds. And I think that it doesn't heal everything. I don't think that time can fix like the pain that an abusive relationship caused or anything, but I think it softens it. And I think that you've learned to carry it with grace, and you learn to make it something that makes you better. Like if you've been in an abusive relationship, you're never going to do that to someone else. If you've been cheated on, you're never going to do that to someone else. So it's awful that it happened to you, but because it happened to you, hopefully it stops with you.
I love that perspective. You're never going to do it to somebody else.
Yes, that feeling that we get when something happens to us, I think is a huge teacher. Because it teaches you like, wow, this is how I feel. I just don't ever want to make anybody else feel this way.
No, that's true. You know, another quote that I also thought of as you were talking, and now this doesn't necessarily help with the bigger grief or the bigger things you experience in life, but your smaller inconveniences. Is this going to matter in 5 years? Like that quote, if it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes thinking about it or talking about it or whatever it is.
That's so true too. Yeah, I mean, it's important to feel your feelings, but it is also important to not live in them. Don't sit in them forever. You have to get up. You have to move through them. And that's so true. Don't end too long on something that we probably maybe remembered.
Exactly. Like little things, you know? It's like even I backed into a sign last week with my car, and brand new car. I have a payment on it and everything. I've only had the car since June. It's my baby. First thing I've ever had. And I was so upset and frustrated in the moment. And at the same time, though, my mind was like, you know, Amanda, you didn't have another car or somebody else. So, like, it just sucks to be me and sucks to be the car. Like, but things could be worse. Nobody got hurt. It didn't do that much damage. Like, where's the, you know?
I love that. That's so impressive that you're able to shift it in that moment. And I very much relate to I'm admittedly like a very nervous driver, and I have backed into so many a pole and bought the same thing. I've been like, well, I'm not hurt. Nobody else is hurt. But it's shocking. It's jarring in the moment when things like that happen. And it's definitely a skill. It's a skill to be able to transform the thought in the moment to something, even though it's not a good thought, it's still okay. It could be worse. And it's just like, I love that you did that.
Yeah, it was not very easy. And, like, it's taken me a while to be able to do, but not even necessarily, like, a good thing. But you know what? This would have been how it would have been worse.
I love that. Putting things in perspective is important, and like hard to do in the moment, but very important.
I completely agree. So, I typically end my podcast with 2 segments. Have you heard of Jay Shetty?
I love Jay Shetty. I actually just ordered the book because it's been recommended to me. So very much love that.
Okay. Have you heard his podcast On Purpose?
I have. I've listened to quite a few episodes. I'm definitely choosy with the guests. Like I really like when he has a certain guest that I like, but I love his podcast. It's great.
Well, he has these two segments, and I love them. So I started incorporating them in my podcast. So the first segment is called The Many Sides to Us. And there's 5 questions, and they need to be answered with one word. Number 1. What is one word someone who is meeting you for the first time would describe you as?
Energetic.
Number 2. What is one word that someone who knows you extremely well would use to describe you as?
Folly.
Number 3. What is one word you'd use to describe yourself?
Cool. Compassionate.
Number 4. What is one word that if someone who didn't like you or agree with you, your mindset, how would they describe?
Abrasive. Abrasive, for sure. I've definitely been called abrasive, so that won't be easy.
Okay. Okay. Last one. What is one word you're trying to embody right now?
That's such a good question. I would have to say, I want to use the word fluidity, but that's not the one, like flowing. Flowing. I would say flowing.
Okay. Now the second segment is the final 5, and these can be answered in up to a sentence.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
What is the best advice you've heard or received?
What's wrong with where you are right now?
Oh. Okay.
A good one to think on.
That's good me writing in okay. I did a double take when you said that. Okay.
It's a good one. Any time to think on that one in your life, it's a good one.
I had never heard it. Wow. The exact way you phrased that, I have never heard that.
The person who said that to me was this lovely lady I worked with at Summerland Credit Union, which was like my first big girl job. And I had just gone through a time and I was really disappointed in myself at where I was at. I was like, don't own a house. Like, I don't have a car right now. Everything is messed up. And she just said, well, what's wrong with where you are right now? Where else are you supposed to be? What else should you be doing? What's wrong with where you are right now? And I literally had to catch my glance like you did. I was like, well, nothing wrong. It's just not ideal.
I felt like you were asking me that, and I was just like, that's a great question.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. I like that. I really like that. I've been asking these questions quite a bit, and I've never been like speechless. That one of the pieces of advice. So,
Love it.
number 2, what is the worst piece of advice you've heard or received?
Just work harder.
Why is that the worst?
I think that working harder isn't always the answer. Sometimes it's work smarter, work with more awareness, be more permanent. Especially, I think, in the fitness space, this work harder mentality ends up really pushing us to resent it and not be connected with our body.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Number 3, what is something that you used to value that you no longer value?
Status. When I was younger, I used to really look up to people who had a lot of wealth or celebrities or, people with a ton of followers or people with a ton of sponsorships. And now I think the people who I'm most inspired by have none of that. They're just regular human beings who show up every day. That was way more than a sentence.
It's okay. I was intrigued and listening. Do good. Number 4. If you could describe what you would want your legacy to be, as if someone were reading it, what would you want it to say?
One of the things that she brought positivity and kindness into every room. I just want to be remembered as someone who could be there for anyone and who brought a little light into someone's day, even if it was simple as like, I love your earrings.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I would definitely say that you do. Because I reached out to you super randomly on Instagram and I was just like, I feel like you have a great mindset and you just brought positivity and she is so sweet. I know I've never even spoken to her, but I feel like she'd be down to come and chat with me on the podcast.
I'm so honored.
So you've got that legacy in terms of my opinion.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome. Last question. If you could create one law in the world that everyone had to follow, what would it be? And I'm going to want to know why. That's not a Jay Shetty portion of it, but I want to know why.
Oh, I love that. If I could create one law, this is such a good question. You're hitting me with the tough ones now. I think if I was going to create a law, it would be nobody was allowed to judge a book that is their cover. You could not make an assumption on somebody else's life or their personality unless you've had a conversation with them, because we do it all the time and it closes us off to so many opportunities. I think about it in myself too, as it gets something that comes back to society. Sometimes you look at someone and they don't look a certain way, so you maybe subconsciously put labels on them. And sometimes if you get to talk to someone, they're nothing what you've created them in your head. So I would have a never judge a book by its cover law.
Okay, I like that. Now I've got one more question for you. What are any resources that you use consistently to help you be successful in your life?
Oh, that's a really good question. I need to just start by saying I'm a huge advocate for therapy. I think therapy has changed my life. And in saying that, I want people to know that there's so many kinds of therapy. And that I think a lot of people will make your therapy, they think talk therapy or just sitting with a counselor, but there's so many kinds. And if you're nervous to talk to people, I love self-guided journals. There's ones on Amazon where you can work through some things yourself. I'm gonna shout out Alexa again, but I go to Alexa's page all the time. Podcasts like yours are amazing. I love all the different perspectives on mindset, and I love that you chat with everyone. You are literally so good at sourcing people from every walk of life. Like there's a podcast, any podcast that you have, someone can relate to. And I think that Alexa's got an amazing podcast as well. That's a bite-sized piece of information. There's quite a few coaches that I follow. Anthony Spina is a great coach. He's got a ton of information. Justin Mahaley, meditation. I think another thing people get weird about is meditation. They think you have to sit and forget all your thoughts. Sometimes a walk is a meditation. Sometimes a meditation can be movement. There's meditation in business. And I just really hope that everybody learns to just open up to themselves. You can learn so much about yourself if you just start asking yourself why. Hey, why do I feel that way when I do that thing? Why do I feel resistance in this workout or this program? Why do I feel resistance here? And dig into that yourself and get curious, get playful. Life doesn't need to be so serious. Like you're learning yourself.
I love all of that. And that is so true. Get curious. Like, even for the good things you enjoy. And that's something I just recently started doing, but like, why? What makes you enjoy XYZ? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Love all of that.
I'm so glad we did this because I just feel like This is such a great conversation. I love chatting with people like this, and I just hope that it's this podcast, which is one person, that makes them feel a little bit less alone, or like there are some people that can relate to, then I think that's priceless.
I completely agree. I also love how you emphasize meditation can be so many things. In the podcast I did with Lexa, her and I talked about that as well. Like going for a walk could be meditation. Like laying on your couch, even if you're not sitting, observing your thoughts, just laying there, that could be meditation. Meditation is broad. It doesn't have to be sitting in your upright position on your meditation cushion like Buddha, you know?
Yeah, and I think breaking it down like that makes it more accessible, because people think like, I've got such a chaotic household, I'm never going to be able to meditate here. Like, my meditation is accessible to everyone in any form that you want. You're not doing it wrong as long as you're doing it.
That is so true. Well, thank you so much for speaking to me on the podcast. Before we close out, was there anything else you want to share with the listeners?
Honestly, I just want to thank everyone for listening to me, and thank you so much for having me, and I hope you guys have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much. And I will share Darrian's info in the show notes so you guys can connect with her directly. Hey guys, Manders here. Thanks for listening to an episode of Manders Mindset. I'm here for a few key takeaways of my amazing conversation with Darrian. Darrian emphasized how your environment matters so much. He also talked about how you should pay attention to what you're listening to and everything that's in your environment, not just your physical environment. She emphasized not giving up everything you love. And then a big thing we talked about is taking a step back and asking yourself, in the difficult moments or the negative situation, what is this moment trying to teach me? It's a lot easier said than done, but the better you get at that, the more it will help you when difficulties in life arise, which they always will. She and I emphasized that we really learned a lot of this from my coach, Alexa Waxilla, is about awareness and asking yourself why for so many things. Why do I feel this way? Why does this make me feel this way? Why don't I like this? Why do I like this? Get curious. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to an episode of Manders Mindset. If you took anything away from this, I would love to hear from you. And I know Darrian would as well. And let us know your thoughts. If something resonated with you or if something didn't resonate with you. We'd love to hear from you either way. Thanks, guys. In case no one told you today, I'm proud of you. I'm rooting for you. And you got this. As always, if you enjoyed the show, I would really appreciate it if you would leave me a 5-star rating, leave a review, and share it with anyone you think would benefit from this. And don't forget, you are only one mindset shift away from shifting your life. Thanks, guys. Until next time.